Hey guys, welcome to the show, Enter the Stars. And it appears as though the world has gone off the rails, or at least here in America. Got a lot to cover this morning. We're actually going to have two live shows today. The afternoon show, or not the afternoon, but later morning show, is going to be about the Young Risk Takers, the group that Floyd was a part of. Now, a lot of their Facebook pages have been scrubbed from the internet. But I found one in which they have a shirt that says 1-800-CHOKE-DEM-HOES. I also found their YouTube channel with some music videos on it, in which they're flashing $20 bills and glorifying violence, the sale of drugs, and on and on and on. And this just breaks my heart. Being a black man, seeing the influence of pretty much everything that they've done to our race, giving a record contract to someone who's rapping about that stuff, and then on here on YouTube, seeing ads running on these videos where they're flashing GUNs, talking about the sale of drug and basically exploiting women. There should be no excuse for this. There's a big white elephant in the room. Many of you have heard me share experiences of growing up with that kind of influence. Two Live Crew and the different groups that I grew up with, thinking I was some kind of a gangster in my youth. And all of it came through the music. And this is what Floyd came out of, or at least he was glorifying in that video. So that'll be later in the morning. But this morning, we're going to talk about some things today that Snopes has no answer for, because it's true. We're going to switch gears here and go on a rabbit hole journey. This is the journey that I went on through the last couple days, and I wanted to put this show together for you guys so you can understand what's really going on in this reality. Now, all this stuff is connected. There is a fetal cell line from an ended pregnancy, and they were used in the development of the flavorings for food. Now, the actual cells are not in the food, but they originated out of cells from an ended pregnancy. That is the truth. But also, there are different cell lines that are actually in some VCs. Cell lines from an ended pregnancy. Now, not all VCs have these, but the following ones that you see on your screen do. Hepatitis A, rubella, varicella. These, I believe, are given at birth to a child. Zoster, adenovirus, these are a little bit more rare. And rabies are much less routinely given. But the fact remains is that they were derived from these cell lines, the WI38 and the MRC5. They admit to this. Now, the way this works with VCs is there was one single child. Now, this is creepy. One single child that began each of these cell strains. And, of course, they experienced a horrible end to their life through the process of what happens when a woman chooses that. And these cells were then cultured over the course of decades. The 1960s, ever since the 1960s, this same... Now try to wrap your brain around that. For those of you that are not biologically minded, these are called strains, and they replicate and duplicate from this original cell line. So imagine cloning. Imagine that these cultures have been cloned and grown out over the decades. What was so special about the original child? That's what makes this creepy. Is it because the longer they get away from the original child, then somehow in our minds we justify that it's okay, that it's not the original child, but it actually is. These are copies of these cell strains grown out over time. Why didn't they ever replace this original? There was something special about whatever child they chose for this. There was something special. It's a bloodline thing. Now we're going to get into some deep research today. And just open your mind, because we're going to talk about some things that are going to challenge every part of your belief system. So these two cell lines were copied from this original ended pregnancy. They are currently used in the VCs that I have listed here in this article. This is accepted. Snopes they have no rebuttal for this. They admit to this. And now you're beginning to understand the ethics surrounding your right to refuse these VCs and refuse other VCs for different reasons, because there are different types of VCs. Now here's where things go off the rails, and hopefully everybody made it to the show. Let me refresh this. For some reason YouTube is not allowing our number of people that are watching the show to refresh. Probably do that on purpose. Let me say good morning to you guys. I've been giving this a lot of thought, and I believe that what we're going to cover today is just going to be able to change things once and for all. Okay, it looks like many of you were able to make it to the show. Very good. So, here's where things go off the rails. This is a different type of VC culturing method. This is how they produce the VCs in a different method. They use the embryo of a chicken egg to replicate or grow or culture, they call it, these VCs. This is how they do it. These are the two main methods, either through human embryo lines or chicken embryo lines. And you're going to see in a little bit how all this dovetails into the police stations, the fires, and all of this. It's all connected. So most VCs are cultured using these chicken eggs. But chicken eggs present a problem, because apparently they succumb easily to disease and things. And if they're infected, it can wipe out a whole entire production. Whereas human embryo cultures do not. So what they're really trying to do is really push this human embryo, because apparently it's much more successful and less susceptible to, being wiped out by disease, bird flu, this kind of thing. And these eggs can develop impurities, and then when they go to test these before they distribute them, they find some of these weird diseases. Okay, so this is the history of VCs. This is all common knowledge, but you maybe were not aware of it. But what I'm going to present to you next is that there is something very, very wrong with both of these scenarios. Chickens are very closely related to reptiles. In fact, many people argue that a chicken is a feathered serpent, that it is a reptile. The dinosaurs, the Tyrannosaurus Rex, is called a chicken. Now, follow me on this, because now we have something that looks a lot like what you just saw in that image, with a backlit egg. The backlit egg, the embryo used for the VCs, looks very much like this image here in iPad Go 2. Look at the backlit image of the VC production and iPet Goat 2. You can't make this up, and I believe that we finally got to the bottom of this scene in iPet Goat with this egg. Now, what are they seeking to do? Begs the question, right? I just told you that his chicken was a reptile. You can't make this up. This is what we're looking at. This is what they intended us to see in this image. And so, what is it that they're going to finally come up with? Will it be a reptile / human hybrid VC? And, you know, when we're talking about DNA and VCs, could it be possible this reptile chicken VC could cross over into the human DNA once administered to people? That becomes the questions. Now, I'm not a biologist, so I don't know. But if you want no part of a cultured human embryo in your body, you might have a big problem with the VCs that I just mentioned that appear in virtually every VC schedule at birth. Now, I found a few more things in iPet Go 2 that relate to exactly what is going on right now. Later here, you see this autistic-looking child. You see the reptilian. And this is like a purplish color, which is red and blue blood mixed together make purple. You're going to see these VC needle caps strewn about. And of course, the federal government is in bed with the pharmaceutical companies, pushing all of this, selling out its citizens with disinformation and playing down the real truths about VCs, the ones that I just talked to you about. They're playing that down, trying to make us all look like anti-VCsers. Constant threats of making it mandatory. You see the autistic child, the purple, the red and the blue blood mixed together makes purple. With the VC caps, medications to treat the autism next to each other, the VCs causing the autism. And we've broken this scene down even further, but this iPet Goat 2 has so many layers to this, okay? Now, back here in this scene, you see the firehouse. Nobody knew what the firehouse meant. Well, just recently, we had the very first police stations burned to the ground. The very first ones in American history. Minneapolis, Minnesota. And look at this firehouse. Let's let George Bush get out of the way here. Now I've got this in slow motion because that way we can pause it exactly where we need it to go. But look at this. Now you can see in the thumbnail of this video, I actually show the firehouse in a close-up of it, and the flames appear to form two M's. Now you can call this a stretch all you want, but I'm going to show you something else on this chalkboard, because MM is Minneapolis, Minnesota. And the first the first police station, police precinct to burn to the ground, and I think there have been 2 already so far. One in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Precinct 3, and there may be one other that was caught on fire. These 2 flames look like MM, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Let's watch. When is he going to move out of the way? There we go. So you can see here, now I've got the close-up in the thumbnail, but those look like 2 M's. Those are very peculiar looking flames. Usually flames are drawn differently, but these are drawn exactly the same on each side of the firehouse, with the I being up here, Minneapolis, Minnesota, MI, going up. And what do we have over here in the hangman puzzle? Well, the missing letters of the hangman is IOU, like the IOU checks that everybody got in the mail, which would become and will become the final straw, because everybody knew in the back of their mind that our economy could not survive a $6 trillion payout. We all knew that that would break the economy, yet we all still accepted our checks, knowing it would be the beginning of the end, the last leg of the hangman. And now look, chaos in the streets. By the way, IOU adds up to 45. The 45th president, Trump, the last leg of America. Interesting. Now let's talk about eclipses, because they occur all throughout iPet Goat. Eclipses abound in iPet Goat too. This is a halo, but there's also an eclipse here that occurs behind this character. Let me get to that scene here. Many have pretty much decided this is the Antichrist character. We have an eclipse there. So there is the CORONA, and then at the closing of the end of this, we see another eclipse, which is actually in the logo of the company that created this. There you see the CRONA, and it goes on and on and on. There's also more. We know that eclipses are synonymous with plague, sickness, and chaos. Why? Because these people worship the sun. Now, many of you will remember the film Apocalypto, where human sacrifice was done to appease the eclipse god. You'll remember the scene where they march these natives that they collected from the forest up to the top of a pyramid, and they were in like some kind of bloodlust sacrifice going on, and as soon as the eclipse occurred, it stopped. Why? Because they were appeasing the sun gods. So these sacrifices intensify up until the point of the eclipse, and sometimes spill over into the after part of the eclipse. Well, these ancient Mesoamerican pharaohs are the same pharaohs of today. As we all try to climb the same pyramids of the dollar bill to the top, to sacrifice our souls to the devil. Through greed, money, fame, trying to get up to the top where the elite are. And not much has changed, as you can see, from the ancient times till today. Now, Pet Goat is also full of masks. We see this character dancing around, changing his mask over and over again. And yes, these are not surgical masks, but it's the masking, it's the symbolism behind the masking of the people. And of course, masks are at the center of our lives today across the entire world. And that brings us to why you guys all came here this morning. The assault on Precinct 13. A pair of films. One was created 44 years ago. The other was created in 2005, 15 years ago. I think I gotta close this window up. Now, we're going to look at this decode that I did over the week. I did a couple decodes on both these films over the weekend. The newer film first, and then the older film. And I found some pretty amazing stuff. Some troubling things that seem to relate to exactly what's happening right now. Now, before I play this...
Today I am officially declaring a national emergency.
We're going to talk just for a few minutes as people continue to join the show. If you wanted to distract people who are increasingly becoming aware of the corruption like the cover-up of the most proliferative trafficking circle in American history, egg stain. If you wanted to distract people who are increasingly waking up to the right-left paradigm, first, you would get them used to lockdowns, quarantines, stay-at-home orders, curfews, closures, contact tracing, etc. Then you would spark off an event that was completely unrelated to then begin enforcing that very scenario for entirely different reasons, or so we're told. How convenient, right? You guys, people in the streets are getting played. Dabu just reported that they're now using a contact tracing in Minnesota, and they're tracking down every single last person who had a cell phone with them who was looting in the streets. Yeah, they can do that. If you have an electronic piece of equipment on you, you can now be contact traced. And if you're in looting a store, guess what? They're going to find you. This whole thing was a setup. Just like what happened 19 years ago, where the Alphabet Gang would literally finance, we're going to call them terraflorists. They would finance them, get them all the way up to the point of actually carrying out an act, then they would bust them. In fact, it is widely known that even after the surveillance system was put in place after the event that happened 19 years ago, they didn't find one single person planning a terraflorist attack. Unless they were the ones who facilitated the undercover development of these bad actors, there was no one that organically wanted to do this. It just didn't happen. So, the means justify the end, right? If you're an organization that has been tasked with finding these people, and you can't find any people, what's the next thing you're going to do? You're going to create those people, are you not? Now, instead of the foreign terraflorists, Trump's FBI has labeled people like you and me the domestic terraflorists. So, like I said, today we're going to be taking a closer look at these two decodes I did over the weekend about a pair of films called Assault on Precinct 13, about an assault on a police station. And again, we had our very first assault on a police station burned to the ground in American history just days ago. And that relates directly to these pair of films. Now, both the films are 29 years apart. And they contain clues that seem to directly mirror what is happening right now. In each film, a police station comes under assault and is burned down. There are also hints about some kind of a virus. Now, before Precinct 3 was burned down in Minneapolis, Minnesota, the idea of doing such a thing was understandably a ridiculous assertion. I mean, who assaults and burns down a police station? It never happened before. And what's more chilling is that there was an actor in the 2005 version, the remake, and he's now 44 years old. He was born the same year that the original film released, in 1976. So it appears as though we are at the completion of some kind of a circle, and fiction has become reality. It was almost as if the films were made for exactly what is happening right now. Now, before I get into this, a few of you have asked, what is the value of decoding all this stuff in these films? And, look, if you don't see any value in this, you can change the channel. But I thought that the point was obvious. I thought that looking at the enemy's entertainment and how they socially program the masses for their agenda years in advance, that would be powerful to some people. That they could actually wake up from their sleep and understand, wow, they are really actually programming us through entertainment to prepare us to accept what they have already planned out. And that they do this by constructing a right-left paradigm or a construct in which they control both sides so that both sides can oppose one another. They create the black and the white. And then in the chaos, they just slowly tighten the control. Their chief method of programming is, in fact, entertainment. And what we do here is by exposing in detail how they use the programming to set the stage, we can wake people up to what is really going on. So that they don't do things like burn businesses that had nothing to do with this. And then they ignore the places and the people who really deserve their attention. I do this so people stop falling for the race baiting, which is mostly fabricated stories and acting. We do this so we can break the agenda of the elite by being aware of their plans. Watch this. Now, I've said this many times, I get a lot of pushback from this. But I told you that the very day Trump signed this order on Friday the 13th of March, that he gave permission for every single governor in the United States to do everything that they were able to do from that point forward. The very first governor was Cuomo. Cuomo set the very first quarantine in the United States on March 12th. But as you're going to hear in Trump's own words, he was talking with Cuomo and worked with him to get this done. Cuomo probably told him, look, I'll do this. Why? Because we're very close to the event that happened 19 years ago. And people will probably accept this for their own safety. But, the rest of the states, good luck trying to get this passed because you need, as the president, to sign some kind of agreement so that the governors have permission to do this. I don't know how much more simply to put this. Listen.
To unleash the full power of the federal government in this effort today, I am officially declaring a national emergency. A national emergency. National emergency.
This is the 3rd precinct here. There are fires burning to the left of it at the wine and liquor store on your left. But
obviously, wine and liquor, Molotov cocktails, and there is the Matrix Man himself in the 2005 version of the film. And you're going to see this precinct light on fire.
Back in the back of the precinct, you're hearing people throwing things against the walls, against the glass. And against anything they can. And now the fire alarm, you'll see it flashing inside of the 3rd Precinct.
Now, one thing I noticed was there looked like there were a lot of cops around the precinct. If you're like a white person and you know these people are in the streets angry at what happened to Floyd, would you be out at night cruising around in and amongst these people? No, you would not. You would stay home. If I was a white person, that's what I would be doing. I wouldn't want to become a target for the anger surrounding this situation. But yet, all around the police station, there's almost more white people than there are black people. It's crazy. It's like they were just allowing it to happen. Maybe they're testing out this contact tracing. Maybe they orchestrated this whole thing so that they can then go back and go, okay, let's test out to see if we could catch people doing stuff, even with masks on, through the tracing. Let's keep watching.
Behind the 3rd Precinct, just behind it, is
those guys look like cops.
a fire that is billowing.
You can see the pictures up on your screen now.
Now, in the original 2005, well, not the original film, but the 2005 remake that you're just seeing with Ethan Hawke in it, you will notice and the plot line basically changes from the original. The original in 1976 had gangsters coming in to the precinct and assaulting it, whereas the 2005 had actual police officers assaulting their own precinct. Why? Because they were corrupt and they wanted to hide evidence and get rid of a criminal that could have had them brought to justice. And I believe this situation is no different. Now, many of you noticed that there is an ice world, kind of like I Pet Goat too, right? Like snow and ice. The 2005 remake takes place in Detroit during the winter. And here we are entering the summer. So you have fire and ice. You have opposites. The two are definitely related. Watch.
Of the 3rd Precinct, which is on fire.
It has been going for a few minutes now, really strongly, but you hear people cheering every time they get through one of the windows there with whatever it is they're throwing it.
The action I am taking will open up access to up to $50 billion of a large amount of money for states and territories and localities in our shared fight against this disease.
So, of course, this is the 2005 remake, Fire and Ice, and this precinct, it looks very similar to the one that actually burned down in Minneapolis.
Okay, it is the fire that you see on the right, and again, that is
Winter solstice, summer solstice, winter solstice, summer solstice, opposites, fire and ice. Are you starting to see what's going on here? This one's happening during the summer. Summer solstice is right around the corner. And the other one in the film is happening in New Year's Eve, the winter.
the 3rd Precinct. And what you hear...
Minneapolis.
People who are cheering in this crowd as this police precinct goes up in flames.
Throwing, you can see pieces of concrete. There's someone climbing up the wall right now of the back of the 3rd Precinct, kicking the window in.
Commencing at the siren, any and all crime, including murder, will be legal for 12 continuous hours.
Now, of course, this is from the film, the original film, The Purge. And we have a combination of two things going on right now. We have a purge event as well as assault on the Precinct 13, right? We got two different things going on here. They say when the siren sounds is when the purge begins for 24 hours. Of course, Ethan Hawke is in both films. He's on both films for a reason. They cast him in the role because they're creating an image, a picture for the future. It's part of their sorcery. Now, here's where things get interesting, because the siren that goes off for the purge sounds a lot like the party favor that's blown at the New Year's Eve party. Watch, listen.
May God be with you all.
I'm doing it.
Trying to climb up the wall. People are trying to get in the building. We're listening to.
And by the way, there is a New Year's Eve, 4th of July, Baron Samedi, the evil, basically satanic figure in the voodoo religion, blowing the same party favor in iPetco 2.
People say that they're trying to get into the building. There is now a person who is.
Fire and Ice, July 4th in the summer, party favor. Happy New Year in the winter, party favor. Fire and Ice, opposites.
Going and trying to get physically into the 3rd precinct there.
These are the those guys look like cops. These guys are standing right underneath the windows.
I found this on our friends out there.
Cops burning down the precinct.
The bottom of the precinct. Now, at the very top of the precinct on the other side, there were police officers who were inside of that.
Hey! Oh, shit! Rosie!
Fires are getting closer and closer and closer to the 3rd precinct. That. Seeing now smoke billowing from inside of the 3rd precinct.
This doesn't make any sense. This is a police precinct!
Surrounding the place. Goddamn siege.
Also see that fire alarm going off. Now we know that there were officers in there not too long ago, so we're not sure of the status of how many officers are still inside or if they have evacuated yet.
They must have assumed we called for backup.
I'm having a little problem here. The phones aren't working.
Sure, they cut the wires.
Storm could have taken the phones out.
Now here's where things get even more interesting, because I promised you that there would be connections to disease and 5G whiz. Well, you're going to hear that here. Cell phones and telephones. It is very prominent in both of these films. Okay? He talks about frequencies, which is exactly what 5G whiz is. It's an electromagnetic frequency. Watch. Listen very carefully.
They cut the wires. Just try the radios. Forget it. Frequencies are blocked. But the frequencies are blocked? That's not easy to do. Well, they must have got professional help then, because all the frequencies are blocked.
Frequencies are blocked.
They probably screwed up your cell phones, too. Frequencies are blocked.
They probably screwed up your cell phones, too.
In furtherance of the order, I'm urging every state to...
Urging every
state. You guys, we can't be more clear on this. Urging every state. He gave the order of what was to come the lockdowns, the plexiglass that showed up in all of the supermarkets all on the same day, the X's on the floors, the stickers that went on the floors. All this came from the top down. And then Trump pretended to oppose it afterwards, to wash his hands of it, after he was the one that gave the permission. That's the right-left paradigm. As soon as the heat starts turning up, you turn the hot potato to the other side. You're hearing it in his own words. And during all of this, while we were all locked in our homes, he passed the executive order of 5G whiz and beyond. Do you remember this? Cell phones. Why would he do it now? And look at a lot of people angry on this video. Look at the ratings. I mean, not a lot, but more than usual. There are still people that come to this channel that don't understand the right-left paradigm. They think Trump is a victim, that he's come under attack. No, he's part of it. They're all working together, the right and the left.
State to
Set up emergency operation centers effective immediately. I'm also asking every hospital in this country to activate its emergency preparedness plan.
So every hospital got put under the emergency preparedness plan. What did he think was going to happen? You put every hospital under the emergency preparedness plan. That means that they are forced to test. They are forced to comply with whatever emergency actions come up next. That's the whole point of it. Okay? He said this is a war. This is why I just drove across the country and there were signs everywhere that said, our heroes, our heroes, our heroes, respect our heroes, don't speed, respect our heroes, wear a mask, all along the freeway. That's because Trump's the one that named this a battle. And the people in the hospitals have become the heroes. Are you starting to understand what's going on now? Let's keep playing this.
activate its emergency preparedness plan.
Just spoke with Governor Cuomo. We had a very good conversation.
Urging every state to...
And we're working very strongly with many states, including New York. The emergency orders I'm issuing today will
also confer broad new authority to...
Confer broad new authority to Secretary of Health and Human Services. Remember, when he announced this, not one quarantine was in place, not one lockdown, except for Cuomo in New Rochelle. I drove through that quarantine zone. Remember, I did a video on it. Live, not a live video, but we recorded it. Some very interesting channels attacked me on that video. I think they knew what was going to happen. They're playing for the other team, I think.
The Secretary of Health and Human Services.
The Secretary of HHS will be able to
immediately waive provisions of applicable...
Waive provisions of applicable laws and regulations. That means you don't have to follow the law.
Laws and regulations
to give doctors, all hospitals, and healthcare providers maximum flexibility to respond to the virus and care for patients.
I'm not getting the signal.
Cell phones.
Neither am I. What the hell is this?
I told you, the Bishop's guys out there.
Floyd allegedly tried to use a fake $20 bill.
Okay, now, here is the creepy part, because up to this point, we've identified that eclipses are synonymous with these mass sacrificial events, or these mass, what can we call them? Events of fooling the world. We can say that too. All right. Now, allegedly, Floyd was trying to pass a $20 bill. I'm going to show you some videos late on this show that we're going to do later this morning of all the people in Floyd's group of friends with handfuls of $20 bills. I'm going to show you a t-shirt that says 1-800-CHOKE-A-HOE from this little group that Floyd was with. Floyd was seen with Corona bottles, which that's not too uncommon. That's a popular beer. But he's also seen with a smiley face. The smiley face is the path of the eclipse that kicked off this whole thing, as you're going to see right now. One of the characters in the 2005 assault on Precinct 13, his name is Smiley, and he was a counterfeiter. Listen.
But that he didn't deserve this.
Guy here specializes in counterfeit merchandise.
Counterfeit merchandise.
Fake $20 bill. Counterfeit merchandise.
They're smiling.
Fake Rolex. He's your man.
And Smiley, played by Ja Rule, is 44 years old. He was born in the same exact year that the original film came out, in 1976. 44 is 88. That's the signature.
We're here at the new Precinct 21.
Still shrinking, Smiley. This is definitely out of Smiley's essence.
Who the fuck is Smiley?
I'm Smiley. I'm Smiley.
I'm Smiley. Smiles are eclipses.
His name's Smiley. And I'm a Libra.
He's your man. He's your man. He's your man.
This was the Super Bowl that kicked it all off. They had smiley faces all over the Super Bowl. They were talking about the eclipse that happened on December 26, 2019. The first time they were actually to identify whatever this CV was. Let's watch. Smiley. There's the eclipse right there. December 26th. Wow. It went right under China.
I'm Smiley. I'm Smiley.
That was from, where was that from? That was from Doctor Who, World Health Organization. An episode where there was smiling. This robot was trying to VC people with this syringe. He was chasing them around because there was a spamdemic. Remember that decode we did? This is Smiley. And we saw another type of infection. If you're bit by a werewolf in the film The Howling, and he would leave the calling card of a smiley face. That's because it's all about eclipses. Gremlins, smiley face.
I'm Smiley. I'm Smiley.
Gremlins replicate out of control, right? A V word, right? That's what the smiley face is. I might need to go back and decode Gremlins. There may have been an eclipse or a full moon component to that film as well. Okay, let's get on to this next. Now, what you just saw, the last thing you saw, was Bill Gates had actually researched that particular cell line and given money from the Gates Foundation to investigate that with relation to VCs. And that's why I showed that very last image, because a smiley face appeared within it. So here is the part 2. In this particular decode, I go in and look at the older film, the original Assault on Precinct 13 from 44 years ago. Because obviously, you got to follow the trail, right? Remember, Ja Rule Smiley is 44 years old. These films were made for today. Let me check in the chat first real quick. Make sure we're connected, and we'll continue on with this. We're almost done for this morning. We'll be back again later in the morning as we expose this group that Floyd was a part of. There's actually an image in the Facebook with an actual cop car outside the window. You guys, there's something not right. There's something not right. Let me refresh this. All right, looks like we're still good, up and running. Let's keep going with this decode. Close up. This is Pet Goat. All right. Now, this 1976 version of Assault on Precinct 13 starts out with a blood oath between 3 gang members. They cut themselves with this V. Now, V13 is a gang. It's a Venice gang. It's one of the oldest gangs in Venice Beach, Los Angeles. And they basically are the gangs that invade the precinct in the 1976 version. There's the blood oath. They type a V in. Scratch a V in.
We've had a 312 every 15 minutes. 12 stolen cars.
So, basically the storyline goes is this guy here, this African American gentleman, is supposed to basically be at this precinct 13, for one last night before the precinct is to be shut down. The whole thing seems like a setup, though, because the white officer that you saw there that was in charge of the precinct, he leaves and leaves this guy for one last night. Watch.
3 burglaries, 8 aggravated assaults. It's not even 8 o'clock.
Could be the sunspots. Could be the sunspots. Could be the sunspot.
Now think about how random that is with everything that we just talked about the sun since the beginning of the show. Eclipses, CORONAs. You can't make this up. He's talking about sunspots.
Who the f is Smiley? I'm Smiley. Me, I'm Smiley. I'm Smiley. Me, I'm Smiley.
Pressure on the atmosphere. I heard it on the radio.
About a half an hour ago, one of them got pretty sick. I think it's serious.
What is it?
Well, I don't know, but I'd like to put him in your holding tanks until I can call a doctor.
We are in the holding tanks. Ourselves in quarantine while they call the doctor. I promised you that the 1976 version also had a spamdemic component. There's a guy with some kind of a virus. Watch.
You're holding tanks. You're holding tanks.
Now, this is from My Pet Goat 2. The goat inside of the crate in his holding tank with his barcode on his forehead to mark that he has received his VC, right? Let's play that back. He's got the barcode.
You're holding tanks. You're holding tanks.
And when you flip the crate upside down, which is what they do, remember, fire and ice, opposites, duality. They like to do everything in mirrors. I found the word COVID inside the crate. You can look for yourself. Screenshot it, flip it upside down. It's right there. iPad Go 2 released in 2012.
Your holding tanks. Now, if what that man has in the bus is infectious, then all of us will have it. Now, the sooner we put him in the holding tank.
So, all of us will have it. This is the fear. They knew what they were. This is back in 1976. They knew they were going to do this. Put everybody in fear. We're all going to have it. We got to put them in their holding tanks. That's all of us. Right now. Wrap your brain around that for a couple seconds. Just pause and think about what you just heard this guy say. I'm going to play it back one more time, because it's that important. If what this guy has is infectious, we're all going to be infected.
Then all of us will have it. Now, the sooner we put him in the holding tanks, and I get on the phone and call a doctor, then all of us will have it. Now, the sooner we... Your holding tanks. Now, if what that man has in the bus is infectious, then all of us will have it. Now, the sooner we put him in the holding tanks, and I get on the phone and call a doctor.
We could be looking at some of the oldest images of the clues and hints of the CV in recorded film history. There may be earlier ones, but this dovetailed in with the assault on the precinct is a slam dunk, in my opinion.
You can see the pictures up on your screen now of the 3rd precinct, which is on fire.
Molotov cocktails, and set the goddamn place on fire.
This is it.
So, they're under assault. They come into the holding tanks, right? The quarantine zone. All the prisoners, that's you and I. And on the wall is Lloyd V13. Now, V13 is Venice 13. It's a gang. You can look it up. But V13 is also a Motorola cell phone. It's an old flip phone. There's your 5G Whiz component. And of course, Lloyd is Floyd. Watch. All I did was flip it. The bars become the F. And there you have Floyd. Now, Floyd was in a gang. I'm going to show you that in the show that we do later this morning.
What I want to know is, what started all of this?
What started all this?
Now, if what that man has in the bus is infectious, then all of us will have it.
The telephone repair vehicle is officially reported lost.
Something funny about that old station back there. Hey, it's not rain.
And that right there is the 5G Whiz. Probably some of the oldest footage of what they were planning 44 years ago. They sacrificed the telephones, brought in the cell phone technology. That's what you're looking at right here. He's in the shape of the sacrificed Christ. This is a crucifixion as well. Everybody knows that telephone poles look like crosses. There's Jesus crucified on the cross. They're blocking his signal. They're blocking the Holy Spirit signal of Jesus with the 5G Whiz technology. You can see that in an actual level or spiritual level. You could see it as data, negative data, flooding our minds with misinformation, lies, sexuality, and it's overtaking the Holy Spirit within us through the 5G Whiz technology. Or you could look at it in actuality of something in the signal is preventing us from being Holy Spirit filled. But there it is right there. This is the crucifixion. Analog to digital. Jesus to the devil.
Jesus Christ.
The telephone repair vehicle is officially reported lost.
Officially reported lost. And what you just witnessed was some very, very deep truth. And either you're going to get it or you're not. The people that don't probably are filled with a different spirit to where they're just not going to get it because they have fallen under the strong delusion. The people that do get it, you are blessed. And now it appears as though Facebook has removed the video that we were going to do later today. They probably saw my live show. Let's see if we can get this to work. Unbelievable. Luckily, I screenshotted. Oh, man. I can't believe they did that. So here's a screenshot from one of the Facebook images. The Young Risk Takers. This is the group that Floyd was part of. Keep calm and call. Choke dat ho. Now, there was another image of all those guys loaded up in some kind of coffee shop, and right outside the window was a police cruiser with the ramming things on the front as well as the lights on the top. Sitting right outside, the police cruiser was empty. It was almost as if the person taking the picture was a cop. I can't believe they just pulled that Facebook. I just pulled that up this morning. Now, in researching it, and what we'll probably do, since there is no page anymore, we'll just continue the show here. I'm going to cancel the show I had scheduled for later this morning. I can't even believe this. Come on. Are you kidding me? They pulled it in real time. Somebody's watching this channel. I just had this pulled up, you guys. So, we're just going to do that show now, since I've got you guys all here. Gosh, I wish I had screenshot that image of the police cruiser with all of them in the restaurant. Now, Floyd was not in the restaurant, but the Young Risk Taker group were. This is their YouTube channel. Let's see if that's still up, or did they pull that too? Okay, it's still up. Okay, now this is what breaks my heart. You've got these guys. This is the group he was part of. $20 bills. GUNs. Exploitation of women. And the hypocrisy of YouTube to allow this on their platform with ads. Basically exploiting black people. Using them. This is no different than the blaxploitation that happened in the 60s and 70s in the films. It's no different. Glorifying this, making this a lifestyle choice for these people. They've got little children in here. What did YouTube say about children? And that they were going to try to protect children, right? Well, there's a little boy in here. He's like 6 years old, hanging out with these gangsters. This was the group that Floyd was part of. And oh man, I'm beating myself up right now for not saving that, because it showed that they were a gang. The Young Risk Takers are a gang. From Houston, Texas. They're probably Bloods. They are all decked in red. They talk about selling, drugs. You guys, this goes way deeper than you can ever imagine, and I'll let you be the judge of this YouTube channel, of which Floyd was part of. YRT, Young Risk Takers. And you can see for yourself how black people have been exploited and now are being tricked into this war, race war, and now will be used. They're going to take a bunch of them down because they're going to contact trace them, and all those phones that they took in the Adidas store and everything else, they'll all be rounded up. They took the bait, and now here we are, full circle. Breaks my heart. All right, let's go back to the show here. Unreal. Let's go into the chat. Can't believe they took that Facebook page down. Are you guys able to access that Facebook page? Here, let me show you what I did. Let's see here. There it is. There. It's the t-shirt he had on in that PORONO. Young Risk Takers. See, that's how you know. That is how you... Here's him here. Okay, he's a Blood. This is Young Risk Takers home Facebook page. And all the pictures, they're all wearing blood. But it says Crip on the shirt here. I don't know what that's about. Maybe they were goofing on some guy. Or maybe they're Crips that wear red. Crips normally wear blue. So I don't know. But that's one image from the Facebook that got deleted. That just got deleted real time. Just before the show. So it makes me so angry. So you got to ask yourself, why? Why are they trying to hide the truth about this? Why? It's because it's all a lie. Here it is right here. All I did was click right on here. It came up before, not now. Oh, look. Oh, look. Boom. There it is. Come on. Load up. Okay, here it is. Whoa. Where are the pictures? Here we go. Alright, we're in, you guys. We're in. Now, viewer discretion, because some of these images are just straight up exploiting women. Now, already it's, I can't believe that. Look, this is no excuse for this guy to have been taken out. But my whole point of this is I don't believe that this was all real. Okay? I think this is a setup because now the whole world is focused on this. Right? And they're going to see this man's for who he really was, not how he's being portrayed in the media. And once they do, there's going to be a debate in this country. Do you see how they set black people up? They gave us record contracts. They gave us all of the rope that we needed to hang ourselves. Okay? Because people are going to go, whoa, look at what these guys promote. And they're going to try to justify the getting rid of black people because people are going to think all black people are like this. And they're not. Okay, so there is some borderline nudity in this. If this kind of stuff bothers you, this is the Young Risk Takers Facebook page, then you should probably click away. Here's some kind of block party car show. And I'll try to flip past them. Here's the image. 1-800-CHOKE-DAHO. Okay? Try to flip through some of the more racy ones. This guy seems to be the ringleader of the Young Risk Takers. And you'll see on the YouTube channel that I just pulled up, he's the one that seems to be the ringleader, okay, of all this. And they're all in red, so that's why I'm thinking that they're Bloods, right? Now, I come from a gang background when I was younger, much younger. In a Mexican gang, the Norteños. I shared that with some of you guys. Obviously, my life took a very different turn. See, they're exploiting. Let's get past that. Come on. Past. Okay. All right. Now, they're talking about codeine, mollies, X-rated video shoot. Okay. This is Floyd's world. Okay. I mean, what is this? Now, here's the image that I really badly wanted to show you. Outside the window is a police cruiser, as you can see. With a full-on police cruiser. Now, think about this for a second. You've got this element inside whatever establishment this is. And across the street looks like some kind of car dealership. And you've got a police cruiser outside with no cop in it. Where's the cop? He's obviously inside this establishment, right? These guys don't look too worried. Who's taking the picture? It almost seems like they know the cop or something, okay? Because most cops, look at this. All my favorite rappers are dead, it says on his shirt. Man, when at a mob meeting in SHIT goes so well, you can't buy this smile. There's the smiley again of success. Future rich on my bro, young red. On blood, thank God, we really blessed. I ain't talking rap deals either, but that's there for us. Whoa, I'm not talking rap deals either. So they're bragging about their success and it has nothing to do with rap. Wealth, live, explicit, direct. I'm looking for any references to like cops in here. I don't see any. But that's weird. The cops right there, like they're operating in plain sight. I don't know. Here's another poster. It's just very sad what they've done to us. To the black race. In terms of allowing this to be the epitome of success. These music videos just degrading our own people. It's just very sad. Here's Grade A Media Productions. I looked this up. It's actually a recording studio. Some acting going on here. Again, here's the ringleader guy. All right. Now, these guys aren't A-listers. They're not at the top. But obviously, they got a lot of money in their music videos, as you'll see when you go to the YouTube channel. They're like flashing all this money. So they're getting money from somewhere. They're being funded. Let's get off of that one. So this guy is like the leader. They say they're from the island. So they're obviously from the Caribbean. Let's go past this one. Let's go past that. Like I told you, there was going to be some of this in there. All red. They're probably Bloods. I'm glad we actually got to see this because I was a little worried that it got deleted. Here's their t-shirts. They got all kinds of t-shirt logos. Keep calm and call. So that's it. All right. What a Monday morning. Let's go back in the chat. Close up some of this. Guess probably have other information. I'm always behind the times a bit with you guys. You guys always have more information that I've missed, updates. I really depend on you guys to keep me current. So let's let this chat catch up. Okay. And of course, many more references were made about the Young Risk Takers logo with the Tau symbol, and obviously there was Officer Tau, right? And with the serpent wrapped around the pole, which means lots and lots and lots of things. We've identified it as the Blue Bloods because Jesus contrasted himself to the serpent, the bronze copper serpent, which when it oxidizes turns blue, that was wrapped around the pole in the wilderness. Moses he raised up a serpent on the pole for the Israelites. They were being attacked by fiery serpents. And Jesus said, just as Moses raised up the serpent on the pole, so too the Son of Man will be raised up to save the people, or something to that effect. You could read that for yourself, but he wasn't comparing himself to that serpent. He was contrasting himself to the serpent. It's very important to understand that, because Jesus was the pure bloodline of true man with that had not been mixed with the serpent seed, and the serpent that was wrapped around the pole was of the pharaonic bloodline. God was punishing the Hebrew people because they kept whining and begging to go back to ancient Egypt. They kept whining to go back. They said they had 3 square meals a day, and they had all this stuff. They didn't have to eat manna. They had plenty of water. And God said, okay, well, let's put a serpent up there and attack you with fiery serpents. And if you don't look on it, then you'll die. It was a punishment. Do you see how that works now? All right. Let's go back in the chat. Thanks, Faith. There's Rebecca. I'm trying to read some of your comments here. Buckingham is locked up. Guards are gone too. Wow, that's interesting. Is that in England? It is very sad, right, Patricia? Thanks, Jacob. Yeah, it's because for some reason YouTube doesn't let this update anymore. I'd have to refresh the page. I'm glad a lot of people showed up to the show. This is all very important information. Pre-programming. This is going to help people snap out of the matrix. Don't play into what they're doing. They set up these people. It was started by the cops. They were the ones that started breaking the windows. And then, as soon as someone saw an open window and a bunch of free stuff, they ran in and got it. Nobody was stopping them. Notice there were no alarms going off. Why didn't the alarm go off at the AutoZone when the glass was broken? Why weren't alarms going off? Because they turned them off. And my beloved people took the bait, and there they were. On camera. Adidas shoes in tow. Take the bait. like we do so often. Take the bait to be a rich rapper by showing the ugly side of black people. They took the bait. They sold out. Snoop Dogg is not a hero. He's a loser who is representing the worst possible side of a people. Breaks my heart. All right. I know it is crazy, right, Aximus? No alarms. Exactly. They were turned off before they got there. They wanted this to happen so they can test their contact tracing. They launched the CV so they could test their facial recognition on the eyes alone. And then they did the same thing with this whole thing. The Floyd case. All right. Now, this would be a good time to do a heart check. What is it that you aspire to? If you like people like Snoop Dogg, what are you really liking? Are you liking the fame and money and accepting the lifestyle because you think that you equate that to fame and money? You think that fame and money is important and it turns your brain off to morality? This is where you have to do a gut check. There are so many other beautiful, talented black people that could rise to the top and create a better picture of the black race. They don't allow them to become famous. Okay? They only allow the dysfunctional ones to become famous. And there's a problem with that. I have a really huge problem with that. All right. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and end the show now. I appreciate everyone coming out. Everyone share this video. This is bombshell information. We'll be back on here tomorrow. I'm going to cancel the show that I was going to do later today because we already covered that at the end of the show. We'll be back tomorrow, though, with a fresh new live show. I love each and every one of you. Take care and be safe.